If you would have told me that Steph Curry would have 34 points, Jason Tatum only 12 points, and that the Boston Celtics would win game one, I would never have believed you. That's what we're going to talk about. Welcome to FaZe Fantasy Live with your host, Lonnie Z. What's going on, everybody? Wow, what a game. So it's been a couple of days since game one, and game two is tonight. So we're going to talk a little bit about game one and what happened and the just incredible start that Steph Curry had. It was one for the ages. I mean, when we started watching that game, I was just under the impression, well, Boston's going to lose game one. The Warriors are hot. Steph is back in the finals, and he looks like finals Steph. He comes out and hits 6 threes. He scores 21 points in the first period. That was amazing. And I'm thinking, well, Steph's going to do a 40 plus, maybe 50-point night. He'll probably break the records for threes. And, just forget about this one in Boston. They'll come back on Sunday and try to, get back going. I thought the Boston Celtics would lose game one. I figured the Warriors would be ready to go. I knew they'd be a little more rusty because they had some more time off, but I thought that they would come out and beat the Celtics in game one, and then Boston would take game two. Never did I expect what happened, especially after the start that Steph Curry had. I mean, his numbers are incredible in that first period. But the thing, after the first period ended, the Celtics were only down by 4 points. After all that barrage, that smash, in the face, they were able to just hang around. And they were shooting well, too. Jaylen Brown, everyone on the Celtics roster was shooting okay, except for Jason Tatum. But, they proved that they didn't need Jason Tatum to score. They just needed him to do other things, and that's what he did. But after that first period, I really thought, this might be a close game. And then you get to the second period, and Steph cooled down. Boston tightened up their defense a little bit, and they go into halftime with the lead, which was kind of surprising that they had a lead at half. It was only by 4 points. But it was a lead nonetheless. And so, then you're kind of thinking, well, maybe this thing, might be a little closer than we think. Boston had a 2-point lead at the end of the half. It was 56-54. You're thinking, this might be good. Maybe Boston could, hang around. It's going to be a good one. No matter how you look at it, no matter if you're a Celtic fan or a Warriors fan, this game was awesome. If this is a precursor to what's going to be in this series, we are in for one of the greatest NBA Finals of all time. I mean, you had runs and you had defense and you had offense and you had extraordinary offense. I mean, the Celtics shot 51% from behind the arc. Now they're not going to continue that throughout the series, but it took that kind of an effort for them to beat the Warriors. The third period, it looked like the Warriors were going to run away with it. I really felt like, okay, everything the Warriors was doing, it was in their hands. I just really felt like with their experience, they're going to close this thing out. They had a 92-80 lead at the end of the third. So they were up by 12 points at the end of the third period. And you just think that it's over. You think, okay, well, Boston came in and they gave it the good old college try. But then Al Horford gets hot. That was, Al getting hot. We'd seen it before in these playoffs with Milwaukee. He got hot for a couple of games. He was hitting threes. He was looking like, Al of years past. And we're like, wow, okay, Al Horford still has something in the tank. But then when Derek White, I said if Derek White gives you points, that's a bonus. And this guy comes in, he gets 21 points. He was hitting the three. He had 3 3-pointers. I mean, he was 3 for 5 behind the arc. Derek White, X factor. And then the defense started coming. Jaylen Brown played very consistent ball. He didn't turn the ball over. And so, that game one, a lot of the analysts and people are saying, oh, Boston came in and stole one. I don't look at it that way. I called it from the very beginning, and I'm going to keep calling it. I think Boston has the better team. I think they have more length. I think they present a problem for the Warriors, but the Warriors are savvy. The Warriors are warriors, like literally. They're going to fight you. They're not going to give up. They know how to close out games. It just so happens that they're playing against a Boston team that is battle tested in these playoffs. I mean, we've already gone through who Boston had to go through to get here, and it's the top tier in the NBA. I mean, they beat the champions with, Antetokounmpo. They beat Jimmy Buckets, and that Miami team that was number one coming out of the East. They beat an aging Durant and Kyrie Irving, obviously, but they beat them, and they got here. And so I don't think Boston really flinches or gets worried. They've not lost 2 games in a row in the playoffs. And in order for the Warriors to win this series, they're going to have to beat Boston twice in a row. I'm not saying that can't happen because it certainly can. The Golden State Warriors are a very good team, but I think their age showed a little bit, um, you know, coming down the stretch. They're being played hard, tough, physical basketball for 4 periods, and that's gonna weigh on you as you get older. Uh, the Warriors need to see Draymond Green step up a little more. His numbers weren't great, and they also needed more out of Clay. Jordan Poole couldn't get going. Jordan Poole showed himself as a liability on the defensive end, as did Steph. They can't match up with these the big backcourt of the Boston Celtics. Marcus Smart is 6'3". So he's not the smallest point guard. And then you have Jaylen Brown, which is 6'8", 6'9" at the shooter. So it's not going to be an easy battle for the Warriors, but I think that they can do it. Otto Porter gave him some good minutes and gave him some points. That was very encouraging. If you're a Warriors fan, you're like, okay, Otto's here. He's playing. I haven't got the status update just yet on whether or not we're going to see Gary Payton Jr. or Gary Payton II play tonight. That will really help the Warriors if he's able to go. His defense, he's a scrapper. This guy's a bulldog. He'll get after these Celtics. I expect the Warriors to come out and play better tonight. I expect them to have learned a little something. But, there was a question that I had in my mind, and I thought I'd throw that out there to you guys. Is it possible that the Celtics are in the Warriors' head? I mean, I know how crazy that sounds, but they've beat them 6 out of the 7 last times. Now it's 7 out of the last 8 times they've met. So it's almost like Boston has the number of the Golden State Warriors for whatever the reason. It could just be a matchup thing. As great as the Warriors are, they have not played a team like this Boston Celtic team in the playoffs. Everyone that they went through in the playoffs couldn't hold a candle to who they're playing right now. And I could say that the Boston Celtics have played some really good teams to get here. Now, maybe not as good as the Warriors. I don't know. That's debatable. But they played some really good teams. Whenever you beat a team with the defending champions and Giannis Antetokounmpo on it, you've done something. They had to do that in the second round. That wasn't easy. 7 games. So, if that's the case or if it's not the case, whether they're in their head or not, it's not going to last long because these Warriors are savvy. These Warriors are veterans. And as long as they have their core with Steph, Clay, and Draymond, they should come out and do well tonight. I'm thinking that they're going to win tonight. The Warriors should take game two, and it may be decisive. I've watched Boston throughout these playoffs, and they're like, great game, horrible game, great game, horrible game, great game, good enough to win game, horrible game. That's kind of how they've been playing. It's rare that they put together two really solid games after that first round. It was kind of every other game. So I'm thinking that the Warriors will come out and get them. But if you're Boston, you have to now consider, A, we came here to get a split. We've already done that. Let's get the advantage now. Let's really take it to them. Let's get this championship. So I know you don't win a championship in game two, but if you go up 2-0 opposed to 1-1, that's huge. Going back to your home court. Now, Boston hasn't had a great home court advantage this season in the playoffs. It's not like the old Garden, you know. But to get home in front of your fans, if you can get out of here with a win tonight and then get home and split one even, then you're up 3-1 coming back. You'd like your chances with that. So Boston really has to focus if they want to get another one here tonight. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, they'll focus, but I believe that the Golden State Warriors will win tonight and force it'll go back to Boston 1-1, and the Warriors will feel good about that, considering how they feel like they let one slip away. And a lot of people were saying that, but I just think they got outplayed for 48 minutes. You play the games for 48 minutes, not for 40 or 45. The Warriors won 2 quarters and the Celtics won 2 quarters, but the 2 quarters that the Celtics won, they really put it on them in those 2 quarters. They had to gain ground each time they won their quarters. And so it was kind of a big deal there. I think they need more out of Klay Thompson. The Warriors have got to have more out of Klay Thompson. He's just not himself just yet, but he's getting there. And I expect to see him to have a big game tonight. I expect to see Looney did a great job actually on the boards. But Derek Williams for the Celtics just is I'm sorry, Robert Williams for the Celtics is just he's a beast. I think he had 3 or 4 blocks in the game, which that's what he does. That's why he's there. He's there to assert himself defensively and slow teams down, and that's what he does. I would expect that Boston would try to come out and play Steph a little closer. You can't let Steph shoot from 35 feet. That sounds crazy, but you can't, because he'll just pull up and his 3-point shot isn't like an elbow shot like normal, like, let me set up. He pushes that ball beautifully and it just drains nothing but net. I mean, this guy is a cold assassin. He is going to light you up, and he does it so quick and so effortlessly. Just like that first period, he had 21 points. Only Michael Jordan had 22, in the first period. So Steph Curry is going to come back to redeem himself tonight. And it sounds crazy. The guy had 34 points, and I'm talking about him redeeming himself. Well, when you get 21 in the first period and then you let the game slip away and you don't win, he's looking at it as he needs to have a better game. I don't think, he could have done anything more. I think the guys around him, I think the stage was just a little bit big for Jordan Poole right now, and I'm sure he learned something, and he'll be better tonight. But these Boston Celtics, they had that graph. 227 or 127 games of experience in the finals, for the Warriors, or it's something like that, and 0 for the Celtics. Ah, everyone has to win their first one sometime. And this Celtic team, the way that they've had to go through the playoffs, it just feels like it could be their year. I've said all season long, once they started playing well, that this team could win a championship. And, it could be the best matchup possible, them against the Warriors. But I would not count out the Warriors. I think the Warriors are going to come out firing tonight. I think the Warriors will probably get this victory tonight, and they'll go back to Boston, tied at 1 game apiece. It's going to be crucial, though. Some of the keys that we're going to have to see from the Warriors is they're going to have to continue scoring the way that they were scoring. They'll know that Boston won't continue to do 51% from behind the arc. And so they're going to have to continue scoring, but they're going to have to play better defense. They're going to have to get more offensive rebounds. Boston led in that department. Boston led in rebounds. So they're going to have to be a little more physical, and they just are going to have to know that Boston is a physical team. They're going to play a physical game, and the Warriors are very, very capable of doing that. Like I said, if Peyton the second comes back, that's going to be huge for him. That's going to be huge. So look for the Warriors to bounce back. Look for them to play a much more physical game and to really try to jump out and to close out quarters a little better. That's one thing the Boston Celtics have not done very well this playoffs is close out quarters. But they did it well in game one. So Boston's going to have to continue to do that. Boston's going to have to continue to take care of the ball. They can't be turning the ball over. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, when they lose, they turn the ball over an awful lot. And so look for the Warriors to try to create havoc and cause turnovers, because when Boston historically in these playoffs, when they play poorly, it's because they don't take care of the ball. I expect a great game too. I would say the score would be a little bit flipped than it is. Maybe Boston gets 108 or 98, and the Warriors 115 plus 125, maybe somewhere right around there. You can't keep them down, and I'd be shocked, completely amazed, and just shocked if the Golden State Warriors drop the first two at home and go down 0-2 in this series. I think the Warriors take game two. I think we go back to Boston 1 game apiece, and the series resets, and we'll know a lot more about how this thing's going to play out after tonight's game.